So Chandler Riggs, or Carl on The Walking Dead, commented on the famous Pike scene we got in season 9, specifically reacting to how Carl would be when he sees Enid's head on the pike. He said, "I think it paid really good homage to the comics." Because that scene in the comics was just really shocking and really heart-wrenching, and I feel like it was accurately portrayed in the show. It's really awesome to see, first off, that Chandler Riggs is still a big fan of The Walking Dead after his departure. All of the drama of his exit, which I covered in a previous video, I'll link above, seems to be well in the past at this point, and that's a good thing. Just imagine for a second the shock and the shame Carl would feel if he saw everyone's heads on the pikes. Ezekiel would probably also be dead, because I think, in large part, the reason he survived was because, more or less, there's less pivotal characters than the previous seasons, at least, long-standing characters. A lot of them have left the show or been killed off. But Carl would feel terrible for being basically responsible for the Pike deaths because he pursued Lydia so much. At least in the comics, that's how it went down. In the show, that could have happened a bit more differently. I doubt anyone would actually blame him. That's just generally not how it goes. No one in the show blames Glenn's death on Daryl, after all. You can't blame Daryl for trying to defend Abraham in that lineup. So you can't really blame Carl in this sense for trying to defend a very innocent person getting abused by their own community. And I'm sure at this point Daryl would have been more of a father figure to Carl if he had survived, teaching him in his own way, similar to how he tutored Henry for those very few episodes that we got of that happening before Alpha's introduction. It's very hard to predict though how things would have changed if Carl was still alive. For one, Enid might still be with Carl, or they may have broken up over the time skip and she would have potentially survived the Pike scene, and Carl and Lydia could have been together, albeit a very bittersweet ending to that whole drama. Chandler Riggs also said, "Oh man, that definitely would have been really, really tough for him," end quote. He said that in reference to how he thinks Carl would have felt in seeing Enid's head on a pike. I know how it feels like I'm beating a dead horse at this point whenever we talk about Carl's departure from the show, but if Carl was still alive, it would have been just that much better, I think. I think Chandler Riggs said it best though. He essentially said that he was very excited for season 9. And I quote, "I was looking forward to a lot of the storylines, specifically with Lydia because it was such a unique storyline for Carl and it meant so much to the storyline. The Whisperer arc is where Carl got the shine. It was very centered around him. He's the one that basically causes the war. I don't know, in the comic book, you can argue that he was being a bit annoying with always following Lydia and trying to save her, but the comic book and the show are very different. Henry's actor, Lince, also apparently didn't read the comic book, so he didn't know he became basically a replacement for Carl. Maybe it's just me, but I think Carl shouldn't have died at all. It was just a mistake. Really, a lot of bad mistakes happened in the Scott Gimple era, but nothing's entirely bad. Scott Gimple did a lot of good too. It's fun to poke at all the bad stuff. But in the end, it's really neat to think how Carl would have reacted if he was there along with Michonne and Sadiq and Daryl. It's absolutely nuts to think about that Enid and Carl are gone now. It's gone from the show. I mean, so much has changed since season 7. But until we get any more news on The Walking Dead and any hints at season 10, remember to like the video and subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.